Hey everyone, welcome to a gameplay video for the Rakano Aggro. Once again, this deck is current as of February of 2018, with Dusk Road being the most recent set. We're in patch 1.28, which involves some balance changes. So let's take a look at this opening hand. This opening hand is quite good. We are going first. We've got good power assortment. Like I said in the deck tech video, you generally want double justice before you want double fire. So we'll keep this hand. It's got a good 1, a 2, a 3. You can't do too much better than this. So let's. So we're playing here at Gold 1, but we're also playing this on February 3rd. So it's very early in the season. After the reset, we typically run with this deck up in Masters tier. So fear not. It's not that we're always going to be in Gold. So our opponent has a Fire Sigil, simply a Granite Waystone, which to me indicates, a Torch. That would make sense. But additionally, it indicates some sort of a Grenadin deck. So it looks like he has Stone Scar. That Enderplay depleted, which was pretty obvious. Or no, it had no unit. I thought it was the throne, or seat, sorry. So he's a Grenadin deck who I think is quite short on power. He did redraw, which potentially indicates that he only has maybe one or none left. So what do I want to play here? I think on this empty board, I would like to play Champion of Glory and Steady Marshal. These are the units that don't have charge. Everything else in my hand can kind of have an immediate impact on the board. So I'd like to save this as a potential removal spell and not get it just blown up by a torch, which he has mana available for. And it looks like he actually has, so good thing we didn't do that. And so now as soon as he plays something that's relevant to deal with, we can play Sword of Icaria. Looks like he chose not to grab Annihilate, likely decided to grab a Power instead. So we're going to hold back the Valkyrie Enforcer to potentially silence any unit that's going to annoy us. And I think I want to play the Sword of Icaria here, just to get the Warcry going. Well, actually, no. It's close between these two, actually. I think I actually want to play Whirling Duo. Because the way these Stone Scar decks work is they often have large units. They have things like Stone Scar Scrapper, which, if I wait too long on getting this guy out there, like for example, he could have grabbed a Stone Scar Scrapper with his Quarry and could cast it this turn. And in which case, if I held off on the Whirling Duo for one more turn, I couldn't get in with it. Whereas the Sword of Icaria has a bit of flexibility in where it's used, so I'm more happy to hold back on that one. So it looks like our opponent just has a very slow start. I'm not even convinced he's a Grenadin deck because he discarded Avara's Fate Touch there. This might turn into something of a non-game if our opponent doesn't actually do anything here. Looks like he had a fairly poor draw, so if we just get away with a quick, easy win here, then I'm not complaining. That's the advantage of playing these type of aggressive decks, is that you can very often get away with kind of quick, free wins. We just silenced this guy, and I think that's game over. He may have Annihilate, in which case it's not actual game over, because he can Annihilate, say, 2-drop, this one, sure, and then I put him to 1. Normally I hold on to the last bit of power, but since this is a depleted one, and it will put us up to 5, we'll play it. So in case we draw a plate. So luckily the nerfed Devastating Setback there was not so devastating to us. Previously it cost 4 and it was a permanent -2. There it was essentially a glorified Lightning Storm. Alright, so let's queue back up. In these gameplay videos, I normally give you 3 games of gameplay, and kind of give you the thoughts on how we do. I try to talk through all of the very specific decision-making processes and kind of spell out exactly what we're trying to do with the deck for someone who's never necessarily played the deck before. But there, in that game, even though our opponent had a fairly poor draw, we were able to put on a lot of pressure really quick. We used all of our mana every turn efficiently. Perhaps some of the sequencing around the 3-drops may not have been quite right. I was a little confused as to what my opponent was doing, and it's possible I should have played out the Sword of Icaria earlier just to get the war cries flowing. It didn't end up mattering, but those are some of the considerations that you have to make when playing this deck. It's not so much a, if I have a 3-drop, I play the 3-drop. Oftentimes you have multiple choices and you have to balance between, what do you want out of this matchup? Do you want to get war cries going? Do you want to gain life with the Whirling Duo, etc.? So once again, we have another great draw. We've got a 1-drop, a 2-drop, a 3-drop, another 2. So no complaints here. And we won the die roll, which I can assure you does not actually happen every game, but it certainly feels good whenever you do win the die roll with an aggressive deck. So what's our opponent up to here? Plays a Justice Sigil. Looks like he's playing a similar deck to us. So we'll just attack in right away. We're totally fine making this attack because this guy's probably going to grow to a 2-3 if I let him stick around for a turn. I think I want to make the Rakano Outlaw, since I can start getting the war cries going earlier. This guy will push 1 extra damage, but I'd rather get 1 extra war cry in the early game. Just because it's more likely I'll benefit from a war cry if I activate it on turn 3 as opposed to activating it much later. And if he had something like a torch, I wouldn't be too upset, because then he's not really developing his board very much. But now here we see how potentially good Sword of Icaria can be. So I could play Sword and kill one of his guys and then hold my guy back. Or I could attack in and just play Champion of Glory. That's not very mana efficient, though. I think I would rather play the Sword of Icaria and kill his Oni Ronin. No, probably kill his Steady Marshal, actually. Actually, the more I'm thinking about this, it's not actually good. I think I want to just play the Champion of Glory and attack him with Rakano Outlaw. So the logic behind this is that no matter who I kill with the Sword of Icaria, if I just kill the Steady Marshal, well then he can attack him with the Oni Ronin and force me to trade, which I don't necessarily want to do because I'm trading down an Outlaw into an Oni Ronin. And if I kill the Oni Ronin, then he can attack up with the Steady Marshal into my Rakano Outlaw, and I just have to chump block, which is no good. So this attack to me means he's got a Finest Hour, which I am fine forcing him to use here. Or he doesn't? Okay. So that was interesting. So let's talk about that for a second. That attack is essentially pushing 2 damage at the cost of 1 of your units, which is generally not a good play. Going back to my previous discussion about our mana efficiency, I decided not to go mana efficient. I didn't want to play the full... I didn't use all of my power, right? I still had 1 power left because I only used 2 instead of all 3. Normally, you always want to try to use all of your power every turn. I chose not to there because the Sword of Icaria didn't make much sense. But now we are getting a little bit punished for it, because if I had played a Sword of Icaria, this turn I could play both Champion of Glory and Rakano Outlaw. Now I'm going to be power inefficient 2 turns in a row. That being said, I think I just want to actually play the Valkyrie Enforcer. It makes his Champion of Glory just a 1/1. Because obviously, not viable to block with. It becomes a very bad unit whenever it's silenced. Now if we draw power, well then we can play both of our units. And if we don't, then we'll probably just play the sword. We actually have another sword. Okay. Well, we gotta play a sword. I think I'm just gonna play it and kill his Crownwatch Paladin. And honestly, I think I can get away with attacking with everybody. If he wants to... He can triple block this thing. Oh, I guess he just has to double block. That's fine. He'll kill Rakano Outlaw. And then he still can't make a profitable attack. He could chump attack to kill the sword, but little does he know, we've got another sword lined up. So it looks like he's running that slightly higher, you know, higher off the ground version that runs a lot of the weapons. So obviously, if that Hammer of Might went on an unsilenced Champion of Glory, we could be in some trouble. Since it would be a, what would it be, a 6/6 with endurance and quick draw? It's very difficult to defend against that. So this is a turn where I'm going to go mana efficiency. I could just sort of Icaria kill this guy, but I'm not actually being threatened on my life total. Like, I can just take another attack from him, and I couldn't possibly care. So I'd rather play the guys, since I'm trying to kill him next turn, I'm going to play the units that will get me benefit next turn. Okay, so Unseen Commando it is. So what's unfortunate about Unseen Commando is that, well, I can't actually kill him. So if I just play Sword of Icaria, kill Oni Ronin, and then I Alpha Strike, he blocks here on, say, Crownwatch Paladin, and then he takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, but he only gains 12. Okay, so that'll win it. Awesome. So that's how we do the combat math here. We assume we clear out the blocker, and then we Alpha Strike. And his best bet is to block the Crownwatch Paladin. And if he doesn't, well, the Finest Hour on anything else will kill him. Well, actually, Finest Hour on anything else even without, if he makes this block. So I'll Finest Hour the unit with Aegis just to be extra cautious. If he had a torch, he could potentially have survived. And that's that. Okay, so we had a pretty good draw. I think our opponent made a misplay by making that attack in and just kind of throwing a guy away for 2 damage. I think he incorrectly assessed that he was the aggressor in the matchup, which was not true. I was the aggressor. And when you're playing aggro decks like this, you really need to understand kind of who's the beatdown. You can look up the all-time great article by Michael Flores from Magic the Gathering called Who's the Beatdown? I also personally have written one as it relates to Hearthstone about aggro decks called The Clock and the Reverse Clock that talks about kind of who should be in the driver's seat determining when to attack and when to block. So those are definitely a required reading for an aggro player. This hand's a little awkward. We're going second. We do have good power setup. We have good removal, so I'm kind of inclined to keep it. Although I wouldn't fault you for redrawing this, since it's not the most exciting hand. It doesn't have the 1-drop. Looks like we kind of got rewarded here, since our opponent is playing an aggro deck. And we can just kind of deal with his threats as they come. I think it's more efficient to just torch this guy so he doesn't get a Warcry off. Both the torch and the Oni Ronin trade for his Oni Ronin, but if we play ours, it's potential he plays a torch and then they don't trade. And I'll have to use the torch anyway to clear it off. Or, but also in that case, he gets a Warcry off. Since I have another torch, I'm not worried about a bigger threat. I can torch the next biggest threat. And Sword of Icaria also serves as another answer to, say, a Champion of Glory. So that's why I torch instead of playing Oni Ronin. So on this turn, I think we're just Diplomatic Seal. We've got perfect power color situation. I actually think I'm just going to play the Oni Ronin here. I know it seems really weird, right? It seems very weird to just play an Oni Ronin, as opposed to be more mana efficient Rakano Outlaw. But I'm very suspicious that he has well, it didn't work out. So what I was going to say is I was very suspicious both he had a torch himself, because he kept his mana open and didn't play a 2-drop, and that he had a 3-drop. So this line of play would have perfectly counteracted him torching me and then playing a 3-drop, because then I could kill his 3-drop and his torch gets used on an inefficient unit. That being said, it doesn't really... It's not that much of a loss, right? I could have had a Rakano Outlaw out, which would attack for 2 and Warcry, and so does the Oni Ronin. So all I really missed out on was 1 power for the potential to make that huge play. I'm still not going to expose my Unseen Commando to a removal spell yet. I think he may have one, and I'd like to keep up my Torch. Although playing Sword of Icaria here and attacking is also a viable plan, because it doesn't seem like he has a... it doesn't seem like he has his own Torch. So what I'm afraid of now is a Protect, which he probably has. But I'm going to make him have it here. He does not have a Protect. Okay, so I was very afraid of Protect there. I think we've determined he does not have a Torch. So I think I'm fine just playing out the Unseen Commando since it gets extra 1 damage. We are still missing out on some sort of Icaria. Perhaps I should be playing this more aggressively. This is kind of the second of the 3 games where, you know, maybe I wasn't playing Sword of Icaria as aggressively as I probably should. Just because I wanted to, you know, use it as a surprise removal spell, but that might be too conservative, actually. Maybe we should be playing this more aggressively. In this particular case, it worked out because of his Obliterate. If we played this instead of Commando, yes, we would have got the attack in, but he would have been able to kill, like, the Outlaw and then kill our weapon. Alright, so we went a very quick 3-0. We actually got up in Diamond 3 with that. So a really good gameplay example here. You got to see a lot of the power of the aggressive decks. And I kind of talked through a lot of my thought process on even the simple things like what 1-drop to play. So this is that's it for this gameplay video. Please let me know if you enjoy this, anything I can do to improve on the format. If you want more of gameplay like this, I stream a lot over on Twitch TV/Tinman354. Please check it out. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.